And why did you decide to go from public school to a homeschool situation?
The second Friday of first grade, the teacher pulled me aside and they said, "Your son is mentally handicapped and will most likely need medication for the rest of his life to learn. If I would have done what the experts told me to do, I guarantee you my son would be addicted to drugs right now. And him and I would not have a relationship. If a child from that environment is getting targeted, we are lost as a country." And I'm like, "What medication she's on?" She goes, "How can you tell?" I'm like, "How can you not?" She had been prescribed Prozac when she was 3.
This is probably the one that'll get this episode canceled more than anything else.
Early 1900s, the focus of the school was to make fast-thinking, God-fearing men who could lead families and women who could raise family and contribute to society. That's no longer the purpose of school.
I want to introduce to you our incredible Barbie Rivera. She is a single mother of 4 children. Plus, she adopted an 8-year-old on top of that.
Unofficial adoption, but yeah, I raised another boy.
Yes. And then she's also started homeschooling all of her children and then became a micro school. Not only
Accredited.
what?
Accredited.
Yeah, I'm a private school, but I qualify. Like, micro school didn't exist when I was started because you
Okay.
think private school, you think like Delphi, and I'm definitely not that.
Okay.
But I'm a private school. Yeah, and it's accredited.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Yes. And then also she is an author of Enough is Enough. Okay. This is an incredible book. I've already read the back of it. If you haven't bought this yet, you should definitely buy it and read it. And then she's also an advocate for children that are falsely labeled that have disabilities
Learning
and can't
disabilities.
learn, okay, and are medicated. So she's an active advocate of those children. And she's also been in Scientology for over 40 years.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to be hearing all the incredible, juicy stories that we have
Good.
from amazing Barbie.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So I was just wondering, at first I was like, oh, every single one of these subjects are very, very interesting to me. And I want to start off with the fact that you've been in Scientology for over 40 years.
Yes.
40 years ago, it was like at the very beginning, like the beginning years. So how did
Yes.
you find out about it?
Okay, so the way I found out about Scientology was actually quite by accident. I was 14 and I found a Dianetics book. And I thought, this is a lot of information about volcanoes. Like, can we, I'm like a kid. And I look at it and I couldn't understand, or I couldn't read it,
Okay.
But in the beginning, it said, "You can always write to me, L. Ron Hubbard." And I'm like, I love getting mail. Like, I'm still a letter writer.
Okay.
Anybody who writes me gets a letter back, always. And with
Wow.
stickers and some success story, something, right? So I wrote to L. Ron Hubbard. And I remember the first letter I wrote. My dog, Boots, was about to turn 10, and she was a Beagle mix, gorgeous little girl. And I go, "Dear L. Ron Hubbard, the best rock group the best rock album that has ever been recorded is Close to the Edge by Yes, period. And my dog Boots is about to turn 10. Yours sincerely, Barbara Brown." And he wrote me back, "Happy birthday, Boots." So we went back and forth for years. Like, I told him about when I dyed my hair pink, and he wrote me back. He's like, "That sounds like a hairdo." And I'm like, who says hairdo these days? But it was like hilarious. And many of the letters were hand signed. And my
Wow.
letters were nonsense. They were like a teenager. "Oh, I really like Joe, but he doesn't like me. Any advice?" And, it would, it was like whatever. And he always wrote to me. I sent him a sticker. He sent me a sticker, and I still have that sticker. I still have the letters.
Wow.
Anyway, when Damon was born, L. Ron Hubbard was still alive, and he was like, "Welcome, Damon." And by that time, I was a Scientologist. But I'll tell you, the one thing that really fascinated me about L. Ron Hubbard, not knowing anything about Scientology, was I was writing to him, realize I'm a dramatic teenager.
Right.
And I'm blaming everything on my parents, and my mom is so unfair, and my dad is this, and it's blah, He never once said anything bad about my parents. Never once. Never once did he try to get me to go to the church.
Wow.
Never once was there, "Oh, there's a course you can do." Or, because it's not like I'm the opposite, but if somebody like if one of my kids, hey, the neighbor made a face at me, I'm like, oh, where are we going? Get in the car. We're going, I'm on it, I'm not that, oh, okay. Well, thank you for telling me that. I'm not that person. But anyway, and I found that fascinating because here I am pouring my heart out to this man and he's just handling each letter as its own communication, telling me that, I will, it will get better. I'll make it better. It was very encouraging. At the same time, it was also silly because I'm like, I got my driver's license. In fact, I'll tell you I'll end on this one. The longest letter I got from LRH was when I was 16. And I'm like, I'm a straight A student in school. When I graduated, I realized I knew nothing. Okay, nothing. Like I was so unprepared. But I wrote him this letter. I'm like, I got an A in driver's ed. I am a newly licensed driver. And the letter I got was like this long. And he's like, well, while A's are wonderful, you need to back up the theory with the skills of driving. And I was basically got schooled because it was like, when you do the student hat course, the major study course in Scientology, you find out that the certificate really doesn't matter. It's can you do it?
Right.
That's right.
Right. So he was like, I just pictured him like, okay, here's this pink-headed teenager going to drive off a cliff in Cincinnati, Ohio. So he took the time to write me of like, make sure you can define the words and can practice, And I was like, okay, thank you.
That's
anyway,
so
that was
beautiful.
Yeah.
That
was really, and that's how I got started.
That's amazing.
Yep.
What was your first course that you actually did in Scientology?
The first course I did was a seminar given by Kevin Wilson, who's now in charge of Sterling Management.
Okay.
He had a weekend seminar. It was called a Past Life Seminar. And basically
Sounds interesting.
It was, we're going back to the 70s because I was 14 and I'm like, oh, let me go see what this is.
So at 14 years old, that was your first service?
That was my first service.
Oh,
I
wow.
did 2, and that's all I could do because my parents weren't into it. And I was a kid. And they were $10 each.
Okay.
So I did this thing. It was called the Past Life Seminar. And in it, like the Scientology website now, it has all these courses you can do for free. Basically, you got an introduction to all of that. You got an introduction to affinity, reality, communication, understanding. You got an introduction to the mind. You did communication drills, and it was 9 to 6 Saturday and 9 to 6 Sunday, and there were like 20 people there. And I swear, I walked in on Saturday morning, an introverted, like the way I was before Scientology to the way I am now, it could be 2 different lifetimes.
Wow.
Because I could, if I describe myself, I'm describing an introverted cousin because it's not me. I couldn't look people in the face. I couldn't complete a sentence. I was super shy, super introverted, bullied. It's like I pulled all of that negativity in. And when I walked out on Sunday, I was like, I own my space.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
From that complete, like, introverted little girl to this incredible powerhouse that you are today, 4 children plus an adopted but not fully adopted child, and a best-selling author, an actual accredited school. Like, you're a very accomplished person.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, when did you start having children?
I started young. I was 20 years old when I turned, I think I had Damon 4 weeks after I turned 20. But the thing with kids, like I come from a large family. So when my grandmother passed away at the age of 97, she had 13 children.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
So my mother was like,
were they like Catholic or what?
no,
No?
just that's what you did back then. No
okay.
TV, no internet, you know.
Yeah.
Lots of kids. Yeah. So my mom, I think, was 3rd from the youngest. Okay. So my mother, when she was born, there were already grandchildren. My mother was born an aunt. So when my grandmother passed, there were 5 generations of us, and there were 101 grandchildren.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
No, it was great. Like we had, growing up, we had my one cousins, they were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they had 7 kids in 6 years, no twins.
Whoa.
And they lived on a small farm about a half an hour from our house. And once a year, the parents would go on a weekend retreat. So my mom and dad would go to the farm with my brothers and sisters. There were 5 of us, and we were all comparable in ages, right? And we would be in this huge farmhouse. And my mom and dad's like, my dad would call my mom. She's like, Jerry, kitchen duty. And they would make like 150 pancakes, the bacon, the this, the that.
Wow.
And we would have boys and girls. It was 12 kids around the table. And some of these are strapping boys.
Yeah.
You know, my cousins, my brothers, my older brothers. I'm one of the youngest in my family. Anyway, and then my dad would take them out to the backyard and they'd set up targets in the cornfield and they would shoot BB guns and,
Wow. That
you know,
sounds like
fish
so
in a
much fun.
pond. Yeah. And then at lunchtime, come back. It's like, okay, Brown, come on, Jer, you know, and then they'd make grilled cheese sandwiches. And then at dinner, we would have dinner and then everyone pile into this massive living room and we'd watch scary movies, you know,
My goodness.
and then we'd all sleep in the same, but you know, it's like terrified. So the girls would all sleep in the bed, the boys would all sleep. And anyway, fantastic. And we brought our dog, you know, it was like, I loved it. I loved having that kind of family. So I wanted that kind of family. I actually wanted 8 children.
Oh my goodness.
That was my goal. Because I mean, and now looking back, I wish I would have done it. Because my kids are,
They're incredible.
they're really good. They're really good. But I'm going to tell you, they were raised with Scientology technology.
Okay.
Like, and it makes all the difference. Like they've never had interest in drugs, never had interest in alcohol. And there's not a lot of people that can say that these days.
That is very true. Now, how did you know that you needed to, were they ever in a normal, like a public school?
Yes.
Okay. So can you explain like what happened there? Like what was the transition? Why did you decide to go from public school, public education to doing it yourself to a homeschool situation and environment?
Okay. So Damon was 6 and he was entering 1st grade. He did a few months of kindergarten because I attempted to homeschool him,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a lot because Morgan was 2, I was pregnant with Adam, and Damon's going to go into kindergarten.
Okay.
Now I'm thinking that the school system is going to be what I went through because it's only 20 years difference.
Mm-hmm.
And the kindergarten that I experienced in a very poor section of Cincinnati, Ohio, is what should be held to the standard today. It was playtime, but it wasn't like uncontrolled play. It was in the morning, we're going to do the please and thank you drill where everybody gets crackers and cheese and we say please and we say thank you and we learn manners.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be story time. And then there's going to be arts and crafts. It was not academic.
Mhm.
It wasn't academic at all.
Right.
It was basically getting a child able to start, change, and stop
Mhm.
on a schedule.
Yeah.
Now at 10 o'clock, every hour we would line up to go to the bathroom, whether you had to or not. If
Mhm.
you
Yes.
didn't, you know, it wasn't run like a military camp, but it was very loose.
Mhm.
So Damon, I'm like, they're going to love him
Okay.
because he's so well mannered.
Yes.
Kindergarten wasn't horrible, but 1st grade, the 2nd Friday of 1st grade, the teacher pulled me aside and they said, your son is mentally handicapped and will most likely need medication for the rest of his life to learn. And I'm like, this is just false. I go, my son's bilingual.
Mm.
I'm not bilingual. Damon speaks 2 languages. Well, he confuses the B, the D, the G, and the P. And I'm like, because they look alike. Like he does not confuse a cow and a horse.
Mhm.
He doesn't
Exactly.
confuse a cat and a dog. He will get it. But where do we practice? Like
What year is this?
this is 1991.
And in a week, they said he had to be
2
medicated.
weeks.
2
Yeah,
weeks.
2 weeks. That was it. They were like, we want to move forward. I'm like, I'm not going to give you the okay to move forward. Then they said, well, he also confuses the 6 and a 9. I go, again, it looks the same.
Mhm.
Where are we going with all of this perfection
Mhm.
at the start? Like, why are we doing that? Why am I not freaking out about what I'm going to wear to his wedding? Where's
Mhm.
this venue? You know, I'm
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like, we have time.
Exactly. And
we
he
have
was only
time.
7, right?
6.
6.
And then and he had
Jeez.
just turned 6. And I told the teacher, I was making a joke. She goes, well, he confuses the 6 and the 9. I'm like, well, as soon as I get home, I'm taking Damon off of all check writing responsibilities. Because I can't have my son running the household finances when he doesn't know the difference between 6 and 9. And she got mad at me.
What?
I don't think this is a joke. I go, I think what you're telling me is a joke.
Yeah,
She's teaching the little ones.
Right.
How could she not be light? She needs to
Right.
be light with those
Right, right.
kids.
No, but
Shouldn't
so
be serious.
right. So I wish I could say that I took him out at that point. But at that point, I'm pregnant with the youngest one. So now I have a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, Damon, and I'm due to give birth in November. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep him in school and I'm going to be the good mom. I'm going to work with him after school. 6 years old, he had 3 hours of homework. I didn't get homework when I was
Oh.
growing up until the 5th grade, and it was write spelling words 5 times each. Or maybe practice your multiplication. It was 15, 20 minutes.
Mhm.
And
Right.
all that was supposed to do, it really wasn't about the homework. It was about instilling a bigger responsibility for the student, because now they had to remember they needed to do this on their own time at home. But it wasn't supposed to be all home.
Right. All the
Like,
time.
we were expected to be on baseball teams. We were expected to help with the dinner. We were expected to help with the family chores growing up, which that's the family. That's the contribution.
Right.
Anyway, so Damon was given 3 hours of homework, and I was being the good mom, and I'm helping with it. In the meantime, I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old that want me to play with them.
Of
course.
And I'm like, this is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're losing that. And that was like realization number 1. And I've had a few. I go, this school's not about kids anymore. They're about destroying the family.
Mm.
Because here I am being a good mom, but I'm
Right.
actually being a horrible mom because I'm not paying attention to all my kids. I'm doing this, so he can get a grade on a paper?
You're right.
Plus the things, which I brought one.
Okay.
This is this week, one of my teacher's tutors. This is the homework. So the skill is 12 times 2.8. There's a way to do that, easy. Old books used to teach it. This is how they're teaching it now. You have to build a...
This is a Common Core.
Oh, I hate.
No, but
I don't even
this is
understand
they
that.
don't call it
They don't call it
Core.
Common Core, but it is. No, you guys
That-
can check. Hopefully it's logged in there so you guys can see the.
Well, you guys can make a copy of it,
Yeah.
but it's awful. So you have to make an area model and partial products. I'm like, what the hell are we doing? What the hell are we doing?
It's very complicated.
Right. And this was what Damon was getting, not to this extreme. This is this week in
1991?
Miami.
1990. No. What?
This
year?
is right now. This is right now.
This is right now. This
Oh,
is
okay.
this week. But now,
Yeah.
as confusing this is, kind of jumping ahead, every subject is like this. Every single
But you're
one.
saying this is not Common Core?
Well, no, because all Common Core was garbage, but it was garbage before Common Core.
Mm.
So that's a whole other thing. And I'm going to put a plug in here. Chapter 3, I go over exactly the time, place, form, and event of what happened with American education. And it started being infiltrated in 1920.
Mm.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty early on.
That is pretty early on. And it went in at a college level by Rockefeller Jr. because he was importing the psychological ideologies from Germany that we are only mud and we are stimulus response. So that's when all of that happened. And now, how does that filter down now? Parents want their kid to have an A. That's a stimulus response. It has nothing to do with can they do it.
Right.
Even the school system. Like, I could have brought a ton of things. There's a group in the church, it's called the International Association of Scientologists. And there are people that go around and they brief about what's the current, like, drugs, what's the current pharmaceutical, and they speak to ruins of society. So you'll have, oh, look at these ads that are being promoted by alcohol, or look at how many movies have alcohol in them now. And
Yeah.
you see the statistics of alcoholism or alcohol sales going up. So you have this group that they do research and then they brief Scientologists on the current data. I'm one person who briefs in terms of the school system. And one of the things that I bring up is in school, you have this, every state they have it, it's called an IEP, an individual educational plan. Sometimes it's called a program, but it's basically the same document. And after a child gets labeled, which is done by checklist, which is also I go into where the checklist came from,
Okay.
which was Nazi Germany. So after a student is checklisted
So
by
much suppression
so much,
on
so
these
much.
beautiful children,
Yes. Yeah, these potential whatever.
Our future.
Our
Yes,
future.
our future generations.
So on the IEP, there's like student objectives. Again, it might be called something different, but it'll say, and I'm almost going to quote it word for word. I'll use your name. When given grade level math arithmetic problems, Whitney will be able to solve with 70% accuracy. And then they go through the subjects. When given grade level passage, Whitney will be able to solve comprehension questions with 70% accuracy. When given vocabulary words, Whitney will be able to know the words with 70%
Essentially
accuracy.
being a robot, no?
Well,
Okay, cool.
I'm like, so I had a psychologist in my room and I was arguing on this IEP. I'm like, this is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, why? I go, okay. And I looked at this woman, makeup done, nails done. I go, when you go get your nails done, are you happy with the 70% accuracy? When you get your hair done, are you happy with the 70% accuracy?
Mm.
When your daughter gets her wedding photos, are you going to be happy with the 70% accuracy? And you saw her like shift. I go, so why in the hell are we going to, first of all, my son was going to be labeled because he was inaccurate with his alphabet letters.
Right.
So now the standard after we drug him is a C- below average student.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm like, come on, at least show me something. At least teach me, enlighten me.
Right.
How is that the goal? And for anyone who doesn't know, like you'd have to do courses at the church, like in like the church, you have free courses, you have introductory courses, and then you have what's called the academy. And when you get in the academy, it's no nonsense.
Mhm.
You read a reference and somebody's going to sit across from you and ask you, what's the definition of the word lesson? And you better have the answer right there
Mhm.
with an example or a usage sentence on how that applies.
Mhm.
Right.
And they're going to ask you however many words they ask you, right? So
Yep.
that you know the information
And can apply it.
and can apply it.
And if you have a 70% accuracy,
The church would, could you imagine?
well, what happens? Because a lot of people might not know.
No, you would close.
Yeah.
We would close. If a restaurant,
But I mean, on the you're getting a check and you get one wrong.
Right.
What happens?
What do you mean a check?
Like if you're doing the
saying the
checkout
test. Yeah,
and the person doesn't know the definition of the
in
word or
Scientology,
can't show the
you
example.
say flunk,
Yeah.
flunk, go restudy.
Yeah.
Find your word
Yeah.
and restudy.
Right.
And
Like
what's the
you have
standard?
to
And what's the
redo
standard
it.
at the church?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 100% or nothing. It's not 99.9%. It's 100%.
Right.
And that, I'm just going to tell you, that standard does not exist anywhere. And I've been out in the world.
Mhm.
I'm on the front lines of educational suppression. Most of the people I deal with are not Scientologists. I don't care.
Right.
I don't, that's not my mission, is to turn people into Scientologists. They have questions, watch the TV show. I'll tell them a book or
Yeah.
whatever. That's not my
Mhm.
my personal.
That's not your mission.
That's not my
Mhm.
mission. My mission is to help people the way I help my son.
Right.
Because my son, if I would have done what the experts told me to do, I guarantee you my son would be addicted to drugs right now.
Mhm.
And him and I would not have a relationship because he was already resisting when he was 6. And then I didn't take him out of school. He stayed in school for the full year with
Okay.
me advocating, being the good mom, being the horrible mom,
Right.
but me thinking I'm being the good mom. And what happened to my son's personality, his self-worth, it just tanked.
Right.
And at the end of the year, he said these words to me, I am stupid. And there's no 6-year-old, special needs or not, who should ever utter those words or feel that. That just makes me want to cry even
Absolutely.
right now. And I
Absolutely.
feel like, again, this is like another of my huge regrets, not having a bigger family. And then this one, not taking him out sooner, because I felt like I knew he wasn't doing well there. And I left my son in a burning building because I was pregnant and I needed more sleep. And I had 2 in diapers now and a 3-year-old. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, guess what, Barb? You need to get over it.
Mhm.
You need to save your son. So that's when I started homeschooling. And then I told people, I'm like, yeah, Damon's not going to go to 2nd grade. and Morgan's not going to go in school. None of my kids will ever set foot in school. They did this to a very bright, well-behaved boy. And I'm not saying it because I'm the mom.
I understand.
He's bilingual.
Yes.
You could take him anywhere. He would go, like, if if we were family, you're like, hey, we're going to go fishing in the Keys. Can Damon come? Like, absolutely. Anything I should know? Nope. He'll tell you everything. He doesn't like spicy foods, like the normal things. But he's not going to throw a fit. He's not going to hit you with something. He's not going to throw rocks at you. He's not
Right.
going to embarrass you. He's not going to throw himself on the floor. He's not into that nonsense.
And what school was this at?
This was a public school. It was Carver. It's located actually about 10 minutes from the Church of Scientology in Miami. It's still there in Coconut Grove.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you think this is like specific to that?
Oh, definitely not. I think this is the United States of America. Right now, okay, so I'm going to jump into this. So I wrote Enough is Enough to let people know exactly what they're up against. Because, okay, so it was mainly because I'm pretty successful as an educator and as a tutor.
Mhm.
Like, my students love me. The parents pretty much love me. You have a couple of people very here and there. Okay, whatever.
Mhm.
And I've raised my 4 kids, and I'm like, pat on the back, good job. Everybody's great. We made it through. But I can't really sit back and relax because I see what's happening. It's like I'm on a battlefield, and my children made it through the war, and they are now drafted out or aged out. But now what do I do with all of these other kids?
Right.
So when you're a Scientologist, Scientology isn't something you pray to. We don't have a Bible. You can believe in God. You can be Jewish. You can be Catholic. You can be anything. In fact, I tell a story because some people have asked me. So doesn't this affect you believing in God? I go, no. Let me give you an example. Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. That's like, I don't cook often, but I love Thanksgiving. So I'm going to have, if all the kids are in town, I have a full house. I can pray that everything goes right. Please make this dinner go right. Or I can reach for my 1965 Betty Crocker cookbook and see how to make mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and turkeys. Because I'm using this as a source does not make me any less a believer in God.
Right.
So to me, that's what Scientology does.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a solution. And I will give you an early example of how, because I've had many points where I'm like, oh my God, that was amazing. So one of my children, I won't mention names, when they were a toddler, they had chronic ear infections.
Mhm.
I'm talking chronic. And I'm at the pediatrician probably once every 3 months.
Shoot.
And you do the antibiotics, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, let me step back. What is this? What's happening here? All my kids were well behaved. Here's a child who normally gets along great. And then as soon as it gets to nighttime, Mom, I want a cup of water. No, it's too hot. No, I want cold water. Like, they're being a little punk. And then the blanket wasn't right. And then the this wasn't right. And then the this wasn't right. I'm like, okay, I'm just noticing things. I'm not putting anything together yet.
Right.
But the ear infections, I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from because none of the other kids are getting them. It's not like it's swimming,
Right.
whatever. So in the church, you have a library, and it has all the writings of L. Ron Hubbard. And there are these blue books, they're like encyclopedias called Research and Discovery. And it's basically after he wrote Dianetics that he kept evolving things. And again, the same way phones evolve, like the first phone was a breakthrough,
Right.
Scientology has evolved,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
right?
Over
And
the
he
years.
finds easier ways to do things, or, oh, we didn't look at this, or, oh, so things evolve. So I just went to an index on earaches, ear infections, and it tabs. It's like, so you don't have to read the whole volume, but it tabs. It's like page 187, paragraph 7. I'm like, thank you, L. Ron Hubbard, And it was like basically re-stimulating or re-experiencing birth, the conditions of birth, can cause one to have sinus problems, ear infections, throat problems. And I'm like, holy moly, he acts exactly like I did in labor. This child of mine acted
Oh my
exactly
goodness.
like I did in labor.
Oh my
Honestly, it's a
goodness.
wonder my children weren't born like cursing sailors. 'Cause you know what I'm saying? I'm like, L. Ron Hubbard's like, it's best to have a silent birth. I'm like, well, sir, I did not apply that concept. The whole hospital ward, the whole floor heard me. Anyway, so I installed a dimmer in the room. I didn't turn the lights out because that was the trigger. The lights went out,
Oh,
and my
wow.
son would start being uncomfortable, and then he ended up with ear, it's like 2-3 days later, he'd have an ear infection. I installed a dimmer. He stopped complaining at night, and he had no more ear infections. And I'm like,
Wow.
thank you. I'll take it.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So I've had a few of them.
Wow.
And by a dimmer, you just mean like you left the light on, but not all the way.
Well, because you have a switch that's on or
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
no gradient.
Mm-hmm.
So I turned it to where it was low. Romantic lighting.
Yeah.
And slept through the night.
Wow.
No more ear infections.
Pretty good.
That
Yeah.
was like, but anyway, but that takes, okay, so now we take a look at that. That takes kind of like being aware enough that you're going to look for the problem. And it's like, I realized I was part of the problem because I'm part of that birth and crap. It's like, he's going to have to live with me for a long time. So we got to get over this. But it was the darkness that really was the trigger. And so if I would have done something else, and I'm not saying I did the medical route, because obviously if you have a broken arm, go to the hospital. If you have
Absolutely.
heart pain in your chest, please go to the hospital. Call 911.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want, maybe there is something behind it after you solve the whatever the emergency is right now. Like I'm never going to send him to a doctor. That is not my policy at all. Anyway, that was like one of those moments where I'm like, okay, all right, this really works.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so simple, actually. And it's actually so brilliant that this man came up with that.
It's incredible that you were open enough to even think of going to look in the research and discovery volumes. I haven't even thought of that once.
Yeah, no, that's I'm gonna
It's a great idea.
Yeah, we're gonna have a dimmer in the house tonight.
Well, I think there's like 100. It's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you, it has. Whenever I've had a problem,
This is such great advice. If your child has frequent ear infections or
research it.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
research. What does LRH say about ear infections? And you can go to.
Yeah, and guys to understand like the word restimulation, and Graham, we said a couple things that she said. Like there's a book called How to Use Dianetics, and it's gonna go over these things. So you can you can check it out. I'll put a link below so you can look at that. But yeah, these concepts, like again, she's not going very deep into it, but it's in there. Okay, it's just basically there's just go to the videos. Just go see that.
Well,
Just go check
like
it out.
re-stimulation would be a negative reaction to a current situation, right?
Yeah.
And to linking you to the past. Similar to, this isn't negative. When you smell turkey, you're transported to Thanksgiving. When you smell a pine tree, you're transported to Christmas.
Right.
So that's an easy transportation. You walk down the street, suddenly you're pissed off. Something around triggered something, and it might not make any sense at all.
Right.
But it's probably not your neighbor or, whatever. Anyway, so I ended up solving it, and I was very happy that I solved that. It made sense to me. And I ended up solving Damon's inability to determine the difference between the B and the D when he's a baby.
You're right.
By using clay. Play-Doh. Put it in Play-Doh. Put it in Play-Doh. And again, against the education system, it's like I raised 4 boys. How many times, my daughter was like perfection. My daughter, she was just like totally opposite the boys. She was very into her handwriting. She completed homeschool kindergarten in 8 weeks, right? And I had to have her at the opposite end of Damon because she would look at his handwriting. That A looks like an apple that was run over by a school bus. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, because she had the perfect circle and would practice it. And he was just like, whatever, right? Anyway, it's like, how many times a day does a parent have to tell a child, doesn't matter, boy or girl, to brush their teeth. And then for how many days a week, and then for how many years until they do it on their own. We're talking thousands of times.
That's
Mhm.
absolutely correct.
Mhm.
These-
Thousands of times.
Yep.
So my son was expected to get the letter B and D first day.
Mm.
And I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
No way.
It does not work that way. And again, my kindergarten teacher, if my principal, Mr. Glenn, who I wore his pants up to here, big, thick glasses, if someone would have told Mr. Glenn, hey, the first graders are going to start getting 3 hours of homework, he would have laughed in their face. He goes, no, we don't do that to first grade. We're not going to ruin the children.
You don't want to ruin their childhood.
That's right. But that's the difference between my education, which was already on the downcline,
I see.
because I think I did kindergarten in 1969, 1970. And my little brother, when he entered kindergarten, it was almost, you had to go through a psyche value to even get into kindergarten, which my mother was like livid about. Like, why do they have these psychologists? You know,
It's rough.
Yeah.
I didn't experience that because I grew up in Scientology.
Yeah.
So I was in an applied scholastic school in El Cerrito in Berkeley, California.
nice.
So I didn't. I was very lucky.
Yes. Yeah. No, and my other 3 kids, they never thought they were stupid. Like they never had that within themselves
Mhm.
because it wasn't.
Because you protected them. You were their
Well-
mother, and you were advocating for them. You made an environment so that they were able to actually flourish.
Right. Well, and again, that comes down to a basic of Scientology, which puts it like this, completely opposed to psychology and psychiatry.
Mhm.
The teacher was only focused on Damon's disability. Oh, he can't do this, he can't do that, he can't do that. All of the checklists are
Mhm.
can't do, can't do, can't do. Scientology, the whole theory of why auditing works is you take what the person can do and you expand upon it.
Absolutely.
And L. Ron Hubbard knows not everybody going in session goes in at the same point.
Right.
You know, you're going to have a win,
For sure.
but the win of somebody, let's say, coming off of a drug rehab, and my win, they might be of a different magnitude, but it doesn't invalidate this person's win. Maybe this person decides for real, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do drugs anymore.
Right.
Good. I never really had to make that decision, but I had to make other decisions.
Right.
So he gets better, I get better, and this person contributes this way, and I contribute that way. But it's based on, like, I think the reference is accent on ability.
Right.
In the school, all they did was tear my son apart. Which and it's not my son. I'm like, if we
Happens.
target Damon, and I figured, I read to my kids every night. For 9 years, I read a story to my children every night. For 9 years, I'm like, okay, bath time, you this, you that, okay. Schedule, while
Mhm.
they're this big. And I'm like, if a child from that environment is getting targeted, we are lost as a country.
I agree with you. Aaron and I, we also started homeschooling our children recently.
Nice.
Yes. And I've seen drastic changes with the way that our children are, specifically our oldest.
And how old?
She's 10, about to be 11.
Nice.
And she wasn't doing very well. She wasn't happy, like her general demeanor. She was always upset. And now that she's been homeschooling, she's actually generally happy.
Yeah.
And there's no more, she's talkative. She's very open. So it's very drastic, the vast difference between going to school and homeschooling. And I feel like it's more of an environment where they feel safe, that they can actually flourish and they can be themselves
Yes.
without being invalidated in
Yeah.
any way.
I think one of the things is no matter what school, there's a lot of influence from other children,
It's true.
right? I mean, there's the group, and I don't know that dynamic. Growing up, everyone has had a different experience, and the school experience is not. No matter what school you're in, the school experience is not similar to like socializing in any other environment. There's no other place, unless maybe you're in prison, where you're gonna have to sit next to someone for like 8 hours and not really be able to do anything. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to play. I mean, like,
Right.
where does that occur?
Right.
If that's like learning how to make friends, like that's a
No,
little
no, no.
strange. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't know what your take on is, like, how much is it curriculum? How much is it planned? How much is it that, like, just attention, or what are the, like, important factors you think that you've seen, right? People coming in to your school, right? I know it's a small school and you do a lot of tutoring. Like, what are those factors that you think are mostly affecting children right
Well, there's several. It's not a one answer question
now?
because there's several. One, I think that sadly, I think that my children, and I'm going to say children from the 80s and early 90s, is the last generation that turned refrigerator boxes into spaceships because now they're all on phones.
Right.
And you go into, like, I'll tell you this story. I had a student that was just like, first of all, he was medicated on 3 different drugs
Mm.
because, oh, he can't study. He's
What age?
antisocial. 12.
Mm.
No, I've had them, twin girls, 5 years old, come in. And my name's Barbie. And my office, you guys have this. I have 1 or 2 devoted to Barbie. I have
Mhm.
Barbie dolls. I have
Mhm.
a Barbie pink car. I have the Fisher Price Barbie. So kids come in, they're like, "Oh, you're the principal?" I'm like, "Yes, and my name is Barbie." Usually it's like, oh, like I'm an instant celebrity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So, and they all want to touch.
And you have blue
everything.
eyes
Right.
and blonde hair.
I know. It's basically the same. Although I'm no longer 80s Barbie, I am going into the pre old folks home Barbie. Anyway, so I have this display, and this mom brings in these twin girls. They're 5. One of them is like, "Oh, can I blah blah blah." The other one is sitting like this, nothing.
Oh,
Her
gosh.
skin is like a manila folder.
Mm.
It's like this yellowish gray. There's no pink, there's no change in tone. And I'm like, "What medication she's on?" She goes, "How can you tell?" I'm like, "How can you not?" She had been prescribed Prozac when she was 3.
3 years old.
3.
Oh my
Because of
gosh.
early intervention
That's so
in
painful.
the
Jeez.
daycares. And that's like, again, when I do my briefing, I go into that because I see it.
It's
I've had
horrible.
kids come to me. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, again, with my son, they wanted to give him, it's called CNS medication, central nervous system. That's the Adderall, the Focalin, the Ritalin. It
Mm.
attacks the central nervous system. And I'm like, you want to permanently alter my son's central nervous system before his teeth fall out, thinking that that's going to teach him to read better, or that's going to get him to know the difference between B and D, or as an adult, that's going to make me be able to bake a cake better. I'm like, no, that's not. One of the worst.
It's so sick.
It really is. And again, I go into it.
Mhm.
This is illustrated, which the person who published it's like, books typically aren't illustrated. I go, yeah, I know. And I don't want it indented. And I want space.
All right, so
Okay.
I have a question for you
Sure.
now that we're on the subject of psychotropics.
Yes.
If anybody has their children on psych drugs that's watching this right now today, and maybe you have an idea that they shouldn't be, what can we tell them to do?
You
Like,
go to your doctor.
what resource?
You need to go to your doctor and you need to say, "I really want to try homeopathic approach. Please help me get them off." Because some of these drugs are more dangerous to come off of. Like, so you have to see.
Most of them, I think. I think the withdrawal effects,
Yes.
like a lot of, I mean, the documentary just came out, Prescription for
Yeah.
Violence, which shows a lot of the shooters who are actually on drugs, and a lot of them are on withdrawal.
Yes.
And they go really crazy when they're on the withdrawal of the drug.
Well, or they're on the drug.
Yeah,
And
or on it.
and it
Yeah.
just enhances that.
And in your experience, I'm sure you've helped a lot of children get off of psychotropic drugs, right?
Well, I actually don't, because I would have to be a nurse to
Okay.
monitor that. But what I do is, prior to, like, you talk about that DVD, which I'm sure you'll link here, the
Mhm, mhm.
Prescription for Violence, there's an earlier documentary by Citizens Commission on Human Rights called Dead Wrong.
Mhm.
And it was released in 2006, and it was funded by the International Association of Scientologists. And when these documentaries are done,
Huh.
many of them are done in my space because I lend stories to this. Anyway, this particular documentary is about an all-American woman. Like, you would want this woman as your mother, you would want her as your aunt, you'd want her as your neighbor. All-American family. And she lost her high school football All-American boy to suicide after he started taking Lexapro.
Mhm.
And he was on the drugs and he was fine. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to go see my brother. And he killed himself on the way. And no one saw it coming. And so in my school, if you're going to enroll in my school, you have to watch that documentary or I will not enroll. So that's, and DVDs aren't really a thing anymore, but years ago when they were, I got donations of them by the hundreds and I would distribute them over and over. We had one of my former students, her grandfather was a emergency room nurse at Jackson Hospital, which Jackson Hospital in Florida, in Miami, is the hospital. If you don't have insurance, you can go to this hospital. And these nurses, to get their continuing credits and certified, they have to take psych classes. You have to, whether you agree or don't agree.
Mm.
So he brought the Dead Wrong DVD. The psychiatrist teaching the class showed it. And then he calls me up. He goes, I need 80.
Wow.
So I was like, perfect. So they distributed 80 of those DVDs in the psych class, which was great. Anyway, so that's what I do. I don't advise one way or the other because that just puts me.
In a
It's a
liability
risk. The point is, the withdrawal symptom is actually deadly. Like, it's actually deadly. So that's the thing. Once you're the best solution is never to get on it, but if you're
Yes.
on, then there are people who specialize. I mean, you could also, like, the way you find the doctor to do that. Because if you go to your normal doctor,
That's what I was
they
wondering.
may not
won't
have the
help
right
you, right?
solution. So you might want to go on social media, go somewhere and
Yes.
find specialist in with coming off of and put the drug you're on.
Yeah.
And you'll probably find a more equipped doctor, because your
Yes.
general MD, you don't get, I mean, as far as I understand, you don't get trained like how to withdraw people from this. So people specialize in that and they learn how to do it. There's
Yeah.
dosages. They'll take the pill, and then, like, if you take one a day, they like put 80% of the pill. They'll put into liquid and they'll give 80% of it, and you do that for a week, and then they do it, and then they 50% of the pill, 40% of the pill. There's other things that you do because it coming off of it is actually
and you
like,
have to get medical.
it is.
Yeah,
it
you
is
have
a-
to,
it
you
is a
have to
journey.
do it medically.
Makes sense.
Because really, but again, what you said, it's like not to go on the drug in the first place. To me, that just doesn't make sense. To me, we're going back to middle school of like, oh, I'm going to be in a school play and I'm really nervous. Oh, I'm going to smoke pot to calm me down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not in middle school anymore.
Right.
Like, we're not going to do that. But by the way, speaking of pot, it's not pot. But okay, so now that I have a private school, even if it's small, as soon as I set up as a private school, I think it was like 1996, I'm now on the mailing list of children's psychiatric institutes, experts, this, that, everything you can imagine, right? I'm on the mailing list. And there is a psych research company run out of New York, Child Mind Institute, psychiatrists. Their fundraising is outrageous. Like, they rake in millions, which just like, anyway, in October, I was invited to an online conference, which I don't do the conferences, but I like to see what they say. And it was basically about childhood anxiety as a condition, a psychiatric condition that has taken a backseat to ADHD for years and years and years. So they want to bring childhood anxiety to the forefront, and they have 2 breakthrough technologies that they are so proud to talk about. The first one is deep brain stimulation. So they electrically implant a child. So when they start feeling anxiety, they get electrically shocked. This is FDA approved. You can look this up. You can look this up. And I'm like, and realize I'm a middle school teacher and I keep my middle school and high schoolers kept up to date on what's being aimed at them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, so first of all, what's anxiety? Oh, feeling nervous, feeling afraid. I'm like, good. When is anxiety good? When do you feel it? And, I have athletes. Oh, last week when I was, the game winning shot was on my shoulders, I go, butterflies. I go, right. So now if you had those butterflies, you would be getting electrically shocked so that you're like, there's no urgency. There's no reality on like what's happening. A hurricane's
There's
coming.
no more adrenaline rush.
There's no adrenaline rush. There's a hurricane coming. I guarantee you, your parents get anxious because they want you safe. They have a lot to do. They have to board up the windows. They have to do that. Now imagine that they are that attention or urgency is removed from them permanently. You guys could get seriously hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah. I go, what about the first kiss? Oh, you say that to boys in middle school. Oh man, I'm like, exactly. They're gonna electrically shock you. Or why do you ride a roller coaster? Because you know you're gonna have a near-death experience. That's the whole point. You go to the haunted houses, you do this, you want to get
The
scared.
adrenaline.
Yeah, you go to an escape room, blast.
Mhm.
Right.
But you're going to feel that adrenaline. Well, no, the psychs want to take that away. So the first one breakthrough is the deep brain stimulation. The second breakthrough is LSD.
What?
No.
Yes,
When did this happen?
it's been there.
This is like a few months
This-
ago, no?
No,
This is-
no. This has been there. Like even
But you
if
said this like that conference. When was that conference that you attended?
I didn't
or you- or
attend,
you
but I was
watched or
invited
whatnot,
to. Was
yeah.
a year ago.
A year ago, yeah.
But in order for, I'm just going to tell you, in order for LSD to come to the forefront now, I guarantee you the research is like 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's not just, hey, let's try pot. They've already been doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So anyway,
the people are looking for answers. They're looking for solutions, I guess, on how to handle their children. And they think that the psychs are going to help them handle their children and tame their children or make them more
Right.
easier to deal with.
right. Well, and you have a couple of points there, which goes back to like modern system. First of all, the education system has never been worse.
Right.
Like my children know that when they start having kids, their kids won't set foot in a daycare, a government daycare, or a school.
Right.
They just know it. They're like, either they'll go to my school
Mhm.
or they're going to set up a homeschool
Mhm.
and that's it.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. They also know that their kids aren't going to have devices because those devices between the school, this is what's wrong with your kid, and the parent who would rather be on a phone than, oh my God, have a conversation. Like
Mhm.
now the cars have movies in them
Mhm.
because heaven forbid a child have to sit for 20 minutes,
I
And-
agree with
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
I
You know, and,
absolutely
like,
agree with you.
deal with boredom.
It's a problem.
Like we have to have them entertained, Oh, let's go to dinner. I'll give them the device so they
Yeah.
don't interrupt. I'm like, no. If you take them to dinner, they're part of the dinner.
Mhm.
If you don't want them part of the dinner, which not every dinner should they be at, get the babysitter.
Mhm.
That's right. You put them in an
Anyway.
environment where they can flourish.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to say the word no.
That's right.
You know, another one of my kids loves SpongeBob, turned 10. I got him a big cheeseburger cake and he got some money. He goes, Mom, I want to get facial tattoos. I'm like, that's a hard no. When you're 18, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
Like an
But
actual
right-
tattoo.
Yeah,
or-
like
okay.
real tattoos.
okay.
I'm like, when you're 18, you can do whatever you want, but under my roof, that's a hard no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And next. And he's like, there's no negotiation. There's no, well, that's really his reality. I'm like, I don't really care what his reality is.
I agree.
His reality is he wants ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
His reality doesn't count.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm the parent.
Just like when the kids are asking for their cell phone that has
Yes.
internet access. It's like, no, what are you going to do with that? Social media and looking and seeing what other people are doing. No, thank you.
No.
No, thank you.
Right.
There's a topic which this is probably the one that'll get this episode canceled more than anything else.
Good. Let's all get canceled.
Because you're in the front lines. I can see what I've seen on my own social media, my own whatever. But like, if the kid, they say, hey, I want a tattoo. But what about these days where they're told, hey, maybe you shouldn't have been born a woman or a man, or the change this whole gender thing. How is that approaching it? Are you seeing any of that in?
I'm not seeing any of that in my school because I don't think anyone would approach me like that.
Mhm.
Like I'm in the process of rewriting my website. I thought my website, it isn't brutal, but I feel it's honest
Mhm.
because I'm like, if you're the type of parent who your child, it's like high schoolers, they do get some homework. Again, it's not going to be hours and hours.
Mhm.
If it's hours and hours, a kid's doing something else. I guarantee he's not doing homework.
Right.
But if you're the type of parent that I'm like, hey, your son didn't complete his math for homework. Oh, did he really understand? I'm like, you're not being a parent. You're not being a parent. Your son knew, because I've had kids, they come to school, they're wearing $400 Nike shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do their homework because there's no pencil at the house. I'm like, give me a break. And sometimes you have the right mom who's like, what the hell are you even talking about? Give me your phone. You're grounded. You're grounded for 2 weeks, which I appreciate because that's accountability. And then you have some moms like, well, yeah, I was just busy and we didn't have pencils. I'm like, what house? Like,
That makes
what
no
is
sense.
that? That's like, it's a pencil.
Right.
I can't imagine.
You have a child. How do you
Right.
not have a pencil? You have
Right.
pencil,
School
crowns,
supplies.
markers.
Dollar Tree,
School supplies.
Dollar General.
I'm like, it's not, that one's not hard to find. You know what I'm saying? It's
Absolutely.
like not, this isn't Hogwarts where you had to go get potions or something.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying? It's like, it's pretty standard
Right.
that when you have a child,
It is.
they have to have supplies. They need to have food. So I don't,
You don't.
I
run
don't-
into it. Okay, good. Well,
I don't get
that's
into
good. That's good.
right.
Not if you get into it, but like.
No, but no
Okay.
one has.
Okay, good.
Oh, and one high school boy, and he was joking with me. He comes into my school's like one big classroom, right? My high school area is somewhat sectioned off. And I walk in and he's like, Miss, in front of everybody. He goes, I've decided I identify as a flamingo. And I'm like, well, we only have 2 restrooms, boys and girls, and you're in the boys' flamingo bathroom. And he was like, okay.
That's great. You don't get serious about it.
No.
You know, that's the biggest thing is I think people sometimes get too serious about things and then it becomes more solid.
Yeah.
Right? Like you were saying with your son, this teacher was so serious about
Mm-hmm.
mixing up the 6 and the 9 and the B and the D. But in your mind, you're like,
This
and
is
then, and
easy.
now he's just going to go home and write my checks or,
Right.
right? So, and you were very light about it. Whereas the teacher thought that that was a horrible analogy that you had
Yeah.
just given. So I love the way that you're just so light about it. So it becomes no longer solid and it can just be, oh, yeah, I'm a boy flamingo. And then they
Yeah.
can probably decide to let
No,
go
and
of
he
that.
was just
He was
joking. He was
Right.
joking about it, but I'm like,
But even if he wasn't,
Yeah.
being more light about it like that and just being like flippant,
Yeah.
it can, the whole subject can kind of disappear
Yeah.
because you're not being so solid about
Yeah.
it.
well, exactly. And that's the whole, again, but that's the whole thing. Like, I'll tell you, when I was growing up, when you went to school, girls had to wear a dress. And in Cincinnati, it gets cold in the
Mhm.
wintertime. And so in the wintertime, I would tell my parents my name was Todd because I don't want to wear a dress.
Right.
In this day and age, if I would do that, and I didn't have my parents because my parents are like, your name is Barbara and that's it.
Yeah.
Put the dress on. Like, you know,
Yes.
we'll get you some leggings underneath it or whatever. But in this day and age, you would be sent to a therapist or whatever. And now the schools don't even have to tell you that. Back in, my gosh, it was in the early 2000s, I worked with Citizens Commission on Human Rights on a case. I was tutoring a boy, and the parents ended up suing the public school system in South Florida. The kid was 10. He couldn't read. And he came home one day and he told his mom, when do I start taking the pills? She goes, what are you talking about? And it turned out he had been getting psychiatric counseling since he was 5. And the parents didn't know. And when the parents subpoenaed his records, he had 19 different labels, psychiatric labels. So
That's outrageous.
No,
it
it's
can be
horrible.
it can happen behind the parents' back and the parents
Right.
don't even know about it.
Right. Well, we changed the law. I work with CCHR. We went to Tallahassee, and I'm like, so now there's like informed consent. However,
In the state of Florida alone,
yeah,
right?
but
Mhm.
still, murder
Mhm.
is against the law. Does that mean, oh, murder doesn't happen in Florida?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
we just put it on the books. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. So
Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
thank you. Yeah.
And that's why the thing about the homeschool that I really like is that will never happen. Do you
Right.
understand? You're not going to put yourself in a scenario where there's even a potentiality of someone labeling, counseling, whatever to your child, like without you knowing,
Right.
because you've actually trusted the school. You've said this school is responsible for the education and future of my child.
Yep.
And the second you do that, like they actually had this question: when did this like public school system thing start? Was it like before it just used to be like everyone homeschooled and then something happened?
Well,
Like
you
how
had
what's the
like,
history here?
well, okay, so I did write it here.
Yeah.
Don't put me totally
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
spot with the dates and everything. But yeah, so actually going to lead into why I brought these.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's go. The earliest statistic I could find, in statistics prior to 1900 are a little bit difficult. Publishing a book prior to 1900 is a little bit difficult to find because we didn't have the technology we
Mhm.
have today. But like in 1910, I found a quote in a book that the public school system of the United States of America was so effective that we posted a 97% literacy rate.
Hmm.
And our reading protocols were so strong we could wipe out illiteracy worldwide. So then in comes Rockefeller with these. Now we have the superior uh, information. We're not godly because, like, again, I have to go back. Early 1900s, the focus of the school was to make fast thinking, God fearing
Mhm.
uh, men who could lead families and women who could raise family. Okay, there's another cancel thing right there.
Mhm.
Right.
And contribute to society.
Mhm.
That was the purpose of school.
Wow.
That's no longer the purpose of school, right? So, and I don't care what your religion is, but like, and actually this came up in school once, and I'm really careful about the religion question because I'm like, okay, when you're talking about founding fathers, it's like their belief was in God. I do not say that I'm not trying to attack or approach, challenge anybody's,
Mhm.
Right.
but it'll come up in, let's say, a history book. He was a
Mhm.
God-fearing man.
Mhm.
And the kid's like, what does that mean? I go, okay, well, what does fear mean? It's like, well, you're afraid. What are you afraid of? The consequences. I'm like, great. So let's say your mom has her favorite lamp and you break it. Are you now in fear? Like,
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
fear for my life. I go, right. Now, that's the correct way to feel.
Mhm.
So let's take it on a lower scale. Why don't you guys, like, let's say I call up your mom
Yeah.
right now and I say, hey, your son just said F this, F that. He's not doing school anymore. He's
Mhm.
tired of the math.
Mhm.
And their faces all were like, I go, why wouldn't you? Who here likes doing the math? Like, is looking forward to it? Like,
Mhm.
come on, you all want to be basketball, football. I get it.
Mhm.
But who would say that? They go, no, miss, none of us. I go, exactly. Why? Because my mother would kill me. I go, exactly. You fear your mother.
Mhm.
So that is actually a point that she is teaching you that there's certain things that you have to do in life that you don't like, and you need to do it. So am I harassing you in math? Am I telling you you'll never learn it? Am I making you less of a potential man or woman? Like, no, no, no. I'm like, good. So now we have God fearing.
Right.
So what do you think that we have to suppose this, that God, any religion, would want of the people that look up to him? Is he going to want them on drugs, stupid, unable to produce? Is he going to want them to be embarrassments for their family? No. I go, but now let's go back to the family. Do you know any of your friends who do not fear their parents? And they're like, oh, yeah. I go, and how are they doing? Not well. I go, right. Because they could break a vase and the parent doesn't care. They can come home late, the parent doesn't care. So that kid is not doing well. So when you have this God or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm. Mhm.
that you feel that you need to be right with, that's what this country was founded on.
Right.
Right.
And then you have the psychologists that come in that say that kind of doesn't exist. You're only an animal. And I'm like, I love my dogs, but my dogs are not capable
Right.
of what I'm capable of.
Mhm.
And the kids are like, wow. And we came across this in the word profanity, and it came from the Pilgrims. We were studying about the Pilgrims on the Mayflower. And that here you had this religious group, women, children, and they were on the Mayflower with all of these sailors. And there was one sailor that was just basically a jerk
Mhm.
who was very profane. And I'm like, let's look that word up. and it's vulgar.
Mhm.
And the derivation basically means standing on a shrine in front of God and giving him the finger.
Wow.
And
That's rough. That's bad.
so, and I go, so when you hear profanity, the kids are like, oh, that's like cuss words. I go, right. That's like nowadays you get mad, you're going to go burn down Target. Like, that's basically standing on the shrine
Mhm, mhm.
and giving the finger. So 2 days later, we have the weekly math, whatever, and this kid got a D. And he's like, well, normally I'd want to cuss, but I don't want to upset God over my D. And I'm like, that was a good choice, Ozzy. That was a good choice. Goes, I'm not going to go up on that shrine. I'm like, good. What do you think you should do? I think I should just study more. I'm like, good, because you can do this. Anyway, that was like, but that comes from the words.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yep.
So what's the maximum, like, I don't know if you have other teachers or it's just you, but like teacher-student ratio, what do you do in
I try to keep it 1 to 10.
And what's the name of your school?
Help Miami.
Okay.
Okay, so again, I don't know how much time we have. So I want to go to the end here. So this is going to ruin you.
Mhm.
Everything that we talked about plus more. And it's gonna make you laugh too, because I write the way I talk, right? So I talk about some things my dad would say that he didn't want my mom to know, and some of it's hilarious. And I talk about Damon and how heartbreaking that was, and then what the school system is doing. And then at the end, I go into the solution, because I'm very lucky that, I mean, I worked hard, so it's not luck,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
I worked very hard to have the family that I have. But again, now I'm looking back and I'm like, what do I do? Right? I have this small school. I need a bigger school. I need a campus. When you're talking purchasing property in Miami, you're talking millions of dollars.
Right.
I don't have that. I want to, my huge mission in life, like really what I want to do is retire as an educator, turn the school over to my daughter, get a building, get that building so that they can expand 100 kids. I don't want a huge thing. I want it still intimate, because like right now I know all the grandmas, all the grandfathers. I know the dogs, I know the cats, and that I love, right? That
Mhm.
part I love. I'm there in my office every day, love that. But going back to that statistic of in 1910, we had a 97% literacy rate, and the United States of America was #1 educationally in the world. I'm like, okay. So L. Ron Hubbard has this business datum. The cause of the affluence is capable of causing it again.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
So I started collecting old textbooks
Mm.
from that time period. We were #1, and I have about 450 of them. And I want to bring these back. This is 1883 elementary, 3rd and 4th grade.
Well, that's a public domain. I mean, that could be published. We can publish that
Well,
right now.
that's not going to work, because it like, I'm just going to tell you, it needs to be changed, because it'll be like,
Yeah, but what I mean is there's no copyrights here. Once something is 100 years old, you can publish it. So
no,
like, okay.
I 100%.
Okay.
But you have like, Tom went to the store and got a whistle, a
Yeah.
tire for his bike,
For 10 cents.
and lunch
Yeah,
for
yeah,
10
yeah.
cents, right? Or Dave and Gary went to a gay party, and I'm like, okay, that has a different meaning now, so we're gonna. Anyway, it needs to be. This doesn't have study tech in it,
Mhm, mhm.
so I want to embed study tech in it,
Mhm,
and I've
mhm.
started it.
Okay.
Right. So to take this back, and there's a couple of really interesting viewpoints from the books of that time. And one was they frowned upon giving textbooks to anybody below 3rd or 4th grade, because they felt that they would ruin the child's natural want of learning. The whole learning process was built around life skills and games.
That
And
makes sense. That's what the
right.
kids want.
Right.
They want
And,
games.
and kindergarten was a ratio of 90 to 10. So whatever time you have that kindergartner in class, 90% of it was exploring out of his seat. 10% was to his seat,
Mm.
where he's practicing coloring or he's doing something sitting down, but only 10% of the day. So the teacher had to work out her lesson of, okay, in the morning, we're going to play this game. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to collect leaves. We're going to turn the leaves into woodland fairies or whatever they're going to do.
Right.
So directions have to be followed. Bodies have to be controlled. Now we're going to get in a circle. We're going to hold hands and we're going to sing a song, like whatever it is. But only 10% of the day for a 5-year-old in kindergarten, that was it, was limited to seat time. And kindergarten could last from 4 years to 7 years, depending on the child.
Wow.
Because they didn't want to introduce academics. First grade was the slow introduction to academics. So
That was in
1910.
And that's, you read that in this book, or what is that?
Well, no, it's in
incredible.
several, because I have like
Okay.
450 of
Okay.
these. This is 1883 elementary. And it says the how and why of mathematics are taught so that there is an easy and gradual introduction to the student. I'll take it. Over that crap that I showed you at the beginning, it's 2 different philosophies. It's 2 different philosophies. This is how reading used to be taught. This is the student's handbook. I mean, how gorgeous is this?
So simple.
They didn't start knowing the whole alphabet. You did it bit by bit by bit by bit. And then you had, like, they had to sound out the letters in red. And then as they built their knowing of the alphabet, then they could start making words. And I have the teacher's edition to this, which is about this thick, which gives you the advices on how to do this properly. I want to take this, I want to add the study technology to it, not, oh, you have to do a basic study. I don't want any of that. I want this to be, back in the 1800s, 16-year-olds were turning out graduates
Right.
in one-room schoolrooms, right? So what I want to do is create this where we have the definitions of the words, we have the proper balance of, in the church, it's proper balance of mass and significance.
Right.
You learned the theory of baking the cake, and then the mass are the pans, the cake, the eggs, the this. You have to balance it out. And what the schools now is they overwhelm the kid with significance. They never give him the mass or the application.
True.
So when you're teaching fractions, you always have to bake the cake or make the pancakes or have them, because that joins it. Or you use money, right? Like, what's $50? Oh, and you put all this money on the table and they work with it. And you're not going to get it in one shot. You do it every day, over and over and over and over and over and over. That was another thing from this time period, is that when a child would be introduced to something new, let's say a first grader is learning subtraction for the first time, 10% of the lesson would be subtraction. And let's say we start 5 minus, everything's going to be 5 minus whatever. But then 90% is going to be review of what he's already learned.
There's a lot of wins.
So there's a
You can do
lot
it.
of wins, right? Which
Accents on ability.
accents on ability. And then back in the 60s, L. Ron Hubbard's kids were homeschooled, and he wrote a reference called The Teacher's Hat, which is phenomenal. And on that, he even talks about this gradient and going over it and over it and over it. We also have in the study course, the student hat, number of times over the materials equals certainty and results. Like, you're not supposed to be able to get it the first time.
Right.
You have to go over it and over it and over it and over it to perfect it. You know, you guys have been practicing. This place is impressive. That didn't happen overnight.
No.
You evolved it to
Over the
that,
years, yeah.
right? So anyway, my dream of dreams is that this book does well enough that it can fund a school building, my staff, and this, because I also want to come up with a teacher training. And what this would do is it supplies homeschoolers with the materials. And the homeschoolers, which right now, most people are younger than me that are homeschooling, if they've been in the public school, they were incorrectly educated.
Right.
So now we're going to take them back. And when they teach someone about pilgrims, they're going to have the definition of the word. They're going to have the derivation very simply, so that they have their own realizations like, oh, this is interesting. And then there's going to be the lesson that they can teach. If they want to add God to it, add it. If they want to add, it's going to be very flexible, but I will provide the basics of it. And it's going to be aesthetic. Like, to me, this is going to be the Cadillac or the Jaguar
Mm-hmm.
of homeschooling materials because it's going to have everything in it.
Thank you so much for taking so much responsibility for all of these children. You know, it's like such a huge, there's like a lot of weight there, you know?
Yeah, well, it's
And-
got to get done.
You know, those children, they need help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
That's true. And when like why when I was in school, I was taught so many times over and over like the separation between church and state. Like the church is over there, the state is over here, and this. And I mean, it was really indoctrination. Like I heard that, I'm like, okay, cool, that seems good, And I was taught that like many times, probably like second grade, third grade, like many times, like that was this idea that was like so strong and good, and I kind of adopted it. And then later, as I guess got older and I grew up, and I'm like why doesn't like any church that I know of has good lessons. Like when do you know how that became a thing that's like so like preached now? I mean, the state kind
Well,
of has
you
it,
have different religions, right? And to me that makes sense. But the problem with just giving data and giving data is you don't ever ask that the child make up his own mind.
Mm-hmm,
Because that's what I strive as a teacher. I want them to have judgment. My kids don't know who I vote for. My kids
Mhm.
don't even know my favorite color because I don't want to sway them,
mm
right? But if like when we did a lesson on the Constitution and the high schoolers, one of their mass and significance, they learned about the Constitution, they learned about how to put a law into effect. And so they had to do something at the school. It's like, okay, so who is the president of the school? And their high school teacher was it's like, oh, well, Barbie. It's like, good. So you need to give her a proposal on a law. Like they're just doing a drill.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
ridiculous proposal that
Yeah.
they gave me. So they come in, it's like 5 high school boys. And they tagged this boy Mirza. They go, Mirza, he's the smartest one in the group. He wrote it out, right? And it was, we the people of Help Miami High School demand equal rights with the kindergartners. We want a nap time and an extra snack. And I look at it and I'm like, I am rejecting your proposal.
Yeah.
We is not capitalized and people is misspelled. And they were like, darn it. But the point is they got the idea.
Right.
They get the idea. We had, and you get these kids, we did this great thing and I write about it here. It was like one of those moments where you're like, oh, I love this. The kids were learning about different forms of government. And you hear, oh, communism is the way to go. And the teacher's like, well, communism really only works in the family where mom and dad make the money and they decide who gets what and they set you up. That's really a communistic living arrangement. The kids aren't paying their own rent,
That's right.
whatever.
100%.
So
Okay.
but
But
general,
but there's also like
It's
general
definitely yeah.
and-
It's
just
close.
general,
Yeah. Okay.
right? So my school is in a shopping center. 50 feet from my school was a Bally's Total Fitness. They've since gone out of business. And every day they had elderly classes. So there were like 25 elderly Latin people that would go to their class. And then they would come to my school and they would, under the awning, would have their Cuban coffees afterwards. Well, one day it's storming really bad and everybody's getting soaked. So I'm like, come in. So I bring all of these 20 people in. And the storm was going to be like 30 minutes. And they're like, oh no. And my school's small. I'm like, okay, well, you can do flashcards with this one. You can do this. And so they did it. They had their coffees and it was great. So at the same time, my high schoolers are learning about government. And I'm like, okay, we're going to do a lesson. So I asked these elderly people, I'm like, my kids are going to interview you in groups. And they had to have their questions approved just so it wasn't something
Sure.
silly. And their questions are like, when did you come to the United States? What was the government? What country? What was the government? What was the condition? How did you vote when you got here? How do you vote now? What are your, it was like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's getting triggered or
Sure,
all
sure.
of that nonsense. It was just data.
Yeah.
So that day, you see these groups of teenagers with these elderly people, a box of tissues in the middle, and they are all like sharing the stories. And this one man, he goes, well, I came first, and then because I was found out, my wife and child were murdered in my country.
What?
Yes, because that was the penalty for me coming over. And the kids were like, what? And then another one with, he goes, no, I sent my wife and I didn't meet my son until he was 5. And I came over here and I thought that this was the right government. And then I just changed my mind to this type of government and I work really hard. It was like all of these heart wrenching stories.
Wow.
And these kids were like, writing, and they had to put together a report about however we made that
Sure,
an
sure.
academic exercise. But the communication back and forth was phenomenal because there would have been no situation where those two generations would have met.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no other like connection, right? Good
Yeah.
word. And afterwards, these like when these people would come to their class, they would knock on the door and come in, and they would tell us high school, "You're doing your homework over there, Edward." And it was like a big part of the family, but it was such a learning experience for my kids, and they learned more from those people than what is being preached on the mainstream media.
Yep.
As this is the right time of government, or because the kids would say, yeah, but in the history book it says that the country was against this president, because that was not true at all. Not true at all.
Yeah, history books say whatever they
They
say.
have been
Yeah,
altered
yeah, of
Yep.
course.
to sway in a certain direction. However, it's wanting
Well,
however they want them to be thinking.
absolutely. Anyway, so that's why I wrote this,
Okay.
is because I want this to go big. I'll fund it myself. I just need the funds.
Yeah.
So if this goes big, and it is sold on Amazon, and
We'll
I
put a
have,
link in the description.
and it just came out in Spanish. Anyway, that's the plan, because then there would be a resource for homeschoolers where the words are defined, the lessons are put out there for reading, writing, spelling, math, and we're going to bring back handwriting, because handwriting isn't taught anymore either.
Okay, now there's a question we ask every guest,
Sure.
which is, in your own words, what is Scientology?
In my own words, Scientology is a philosophy that you can apply to your life to get exact results. It's a science.
Well, thank you.
Excellent.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming
Thank
and
you for
sharing
having me.
all these stories with us today. It's been definitely very eye-opening. I can't wait to read this book. Enough is enough. I mean, we have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we
That's
do.
right. And thank you very much. And I just have to say, one of the reasons I'm here is actually because of your son. Damon, I was having a rough time, and he helped me and kept me on the road, and it really helped me out a lot. So honestly, whether you knew it or not, a lot of what's here is through the help of you, because your son helped me. And so thank you for being a superlative mother.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
nice to hear.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next time.